Coming up, ING's big plan. The Dutch company is taking its European insurance unit public with declining investor demand and a glut of IPOs. Is the timing right? We'll discuss next on The Pulse. And let's turn our attention to Russia and Russian companies. Europe and the U.S. are firing sanctions aimed at Russia's banking and oil sectors. How are the country's other businesses weathering the turbulence, in particular companies where one of the owners has been sanctioned? We're joined by Yuliana Slachova. She's the boss of CTC Media, Russia's leading independent media company, the biggest free-to-air broadcaster, independent free-to-air broadcaster in the country. Thank you so much, Yuliana, for joining us. You just had earnings out yesterday, listed on the New York Stock Exchange, slightly missed expectations. One of the issues was the audience has gotten a little bit smaller. Why is that?
As thousands of sharks terrorize the waterlogged populace.
Time to reel you in. We're going to return to serious news and back to our top story now. Russia, in case you missed it, biggest story out there right now. The West imposing yesterday its strictest sanctions on Moscow since the Cold War. Joining us from the Russian capital is no one other than Chris Weaver from Macro Advisory, one of the most knowledgeable guys out there. Chris, what do you make of the sanctions we got yesterday? Moving on, living in Londongrad as the West tightens the screws on Moscow, we get the view of one Russian businessman based here in Britain. That's coming up next. If you look at the pound, right, we were as high as $1.72. It's just under $1.70 now. It looks like it's sort of poised to maybe strengthen.
Benkies are coming out later today, another company that's being hit by the strength.
Well, it's sort of flatlined over the last few days, and it sort of looks like it might go higher again. Is that what you see, and how would what the Fed decides affect that?
Yeah, you know, I've been looking for sterling to go lower, and I said I'd have my hair cut when I was right, so you can see, and I started off bald. So
it's the second day of Angela Merkel's trip to China, her 7th while in office. Earlier today, she met Premier Li. Top of the agenda, unsurprisingly, is to boost trade ties. For more, Stephen Ingle, the man who knows more than almost anyone on China, joins us. Stephen, some big deals signed between the Chinese and German companies today, yeah? Now, in case you hadn't noticed, the Tour de France, cycling's most famous race, kicked off this weekend, but maybe not where you'd expect. It was here in the United Kingdom, of all places. I caught up with one of the top teams during its preparation for the Tour and their owner, trying to shake up the sport. Oleg Tenkov was the champion of Siberia before he made hundreds of millions selling Russian.
Yeah, TCS Bank, $3 billion worth. Oleg Tenkov is the man. He is #1.
Ryan Chilcote, Bloomberg, in the Swiss Alps.
He's a bit competitive, isn't he?
Just in case you thought I was hyperactive, right? That man is much more. He is a bit competitive.
I'm not sure I want him in the newsroom.
3 days was enough. We have the EU representatives meeting tomorrow in Brussels, and we are going to take a look this week at Russian businesses and how they are being affected, as well as their partners. Big a week for corporate earnings in Russia. A Big Mac is $4.80, right? In Norway, it's $7.76. That's because, obviously, the Norwegian currency is very valuable, very precious. Yeah. Maybe this would suggest perhaps overpriced, overvalued. In Ukraine, a Big Mac comes in at $1.63, a third of what it costs in the United States. Yes, and it just so happens that there was a McDonald's next to my hotel in Kiev. So not only does this tell us exactly how weak the hryvnia is, it tells you exactly how many Big Macs I ate over those 17 days. Just before X, I want to tell you how the Russian stock market's doing, because it's open at 7 o'clock. It's down by about 0.8%. Some of the big decliners, Sberbank and VTB Bank. So two of the banks that were sanctioned by the U.S. and
trading
European
in the U.S. had their worst month in a couple of years, didn't they?
And amongst banks with a market cap of over $25 billion, the biggest decliner year to date
Sberbank.
in the world.
Biggest
Sberbank. $50,000 for a 3-bedroom suite? I wonder if we got the number right. Could that be really possible?
And a 3-bedroom suite.
Have you ever stayed in a
3-bedroom suite is quite an odd number for a suite as well. I don't.
How many beds?
Yeah, like normally you want to farm the kids out, right? Why would you want to have 3 bedrooms? Thank you, Caroline. Up next, a warning of sorts for Russia. G7 leaders say they're prepared to impose further sanctions over its actions in Ukraine. We're live with the first deputy governor of Russia's central bank. They're going to be at the same lunch in Paris. Then they're going to be in Normandy. I guess the real issue is, are they going to have any substantive conversation? Or you know, does President Obama just feel that actually that's a really bad idea because maybe, you know, he doesn't know what President Putin's going to do next?